Welcome everybody to the NUFC Global Podcast. Today I'm here. My name's Az. If you don't know me, sure you do. Got Maddie as well and George. Today we are interviewing none other than the former Newcastle and England defender Warren Barton. Just starting off, obviously you're at the game at Wembley, Warren. I seen a photo of you with Stephen Taylor, Harper, and Shearer. Obviously, what was the atmosphere like leading up to that game? The fan atmosphere around Wembley, obviously, and obviously your own lead up. What did you feel coming into that game for Newcastle?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to be there 2 years ago in the same final against Manchester United, and that seemed to be an atmosphere of just really happy to be there, enjoy the weekend, have an occasion, take over to Trafalgar Square, and just enjoy the final. I think this time round there was definitely a more business-like approach from the players, and also they've had that experience as well to be at a final and lose, and I've had that 3 times, which is not a nice feeling at all. So to go there with the preparation, with that memory of what happened a couple of years ago, and as much as we see all the social media pictures of the Newcastle fans taking over Covent Garden and enjoying themselves, they sort of, in a way, tailored themselves a little bit because they wanted to enjoy the day coming along, because there was a sense, me and John Beresford was there with the club, with the likes of Rob Lee, and as you rightly said, like Steve Harper, Shola, Taylor, and obviously Alan Shearer, Stephen Taylor as well. So Kabay was there. So there was a real feeling of like enjoying the day, but we're there to win it. It wasn't a case, although you're playing against arguably one of the best teams in Europe in the moment. They'd had a difficult game against PSG a few days before, and a few hours less than us. So the recovery wasn't there for them, but the all-round performance and the atmosphere was like, we're going there to do well. We feel like we've got a chance. And me and Alan, funny enough, we was talking about it, me and Shearer, like, yeah, I fancy us today. I really do. I think if we do this, this and this. And then we both looked at each other and said, yeah, but we're Liverpool, they are a good team. But Eddie got his tactics spot on. Mo Salah, I was lucky enough to be at the game with my brother. And, in about 70 minutes, I was like, I forgot Mo Salah was playing. And if you can do that to him, then you must be soon. So Livramento was excellent. But, there was a real air of, confidence. But also we know the Newcastle, the 70 years, Bobby Moncur was next to us, the last captain to win it. He was in tears. Me and my brother was jumping up and down, enjoying it. There was men crying, women crying, people singing and cheering. There was a real euphoria about it. But the build-up before was very much like, we was doing talk-ins, going to see fans, going around the fan zones at the club. But I wouldn't say it was subdued, because never a Geordie is subdued about going to watch their team and enjoy it. But there was definitely a different atmosphere, rather than just a carnival and we're just here, we're going to enjoy the weekend, whatever happens. It was, no, we're going to enjoy it, but I really want to watch the game, and I believe that we could win it. And I want to be able to say, I remember watching them win it 70 years ago. And it was a great game, wonderful game, and we fully deserved it as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we undoubtedly deserved that game. There's no doubt about that. And obviously it would have been amazing. I feel like the final against United, obviously we were happy to be there, as you said. And there was also a bit more fear, I think, going into that game, whether we could actually take it. And I think Eddie spoke about this as well. He said there was obviously a lot more. I feel like there was a different level of professionalism, maybe. Not saying the players against United weren't professional at all, but maybe a different level of professionalism in terms of not being just overly excited at the fact that you've got this opportunity, a bit more bunkered down. And obviously that experience that a lot of those players are actually a part of that final. They come in with the experience, they've been there before. And the way that we've sort of played over the past 2 years coming on from that, and the setbacks and the trials and tribulations the players and the team have had to take on, and the past 2 years not having that same level of investment we had the first year or two of PIF taking over, it definitely was a different scenario. Obviously coming into that game, hanging out in all those places with all those amazing people that you just mentioned. What would be the highlight for you coming up? Like, what was the one thing coming up into that game that gave you that idea that we can really take this? And obviously you said that those people around you were really optimistic. Was that optimism just between those sort of people around you? Do you think that optimism was taken by everybody coming to that game?
No, I mean, I was around and I didn't see a Liverpool fan all weekend at Covent Garden in London because, as I said, we did an event on Friday, we did an event, three events on Saturday, and there was Newcastle fans everywhere. But there was like a real sense of like, we're going to do it. You know, we'd walk past a group of Geordies that was having a drink in a pub, or people that was walking around with their kids, and this is our year. So there was a real sense of belief where, like you said, 2 years ago, it was more of like, oh, isn't this great to be here? Let's enjoy the weekend. Let's go down to London.
Yeah.
Let's see the sights. This is like, well, we've been here before. We played them 10 days beforehand and got played off the park and didn't lay a glove on them. Isaac obviously makes a huge difference. His impact in the game of working up front. The midfield three was excellent. As I said, I just felt that there was something in the air that made us feel that we believed this was our year. And that was on the Friday, evident. Talking to Rob Lee, who's played over 300 games for the club, he really fancied us as well. And, you know, that confidence that he had, he'd spoken to Joe Linton and Bruno about 10 days, 2 weeks beforehand, before the final. And there was a sense of like, we know what we've got to do. We know they're a good team. But as I said, the tactics that he had, and like Eddie had been there. You know, I remember back in '98 when we got there, and it was like 30 odd years since we've been to a cup final, or maybe even longer. It was 30 odd years because it was like 74, I think, when we got there in a League Cup final. And it was that euphoria, but you're playing against a team, Arsene Wenger's team, that are just, you know, going for the double. The following year we went there and fancied our chances, but you're playing against Man United that are winning the treble. And then you go there the following year in a semi-final against Chelsea, and they're going for trophies as well. So 3 years on the bounce we went there. And each year it was like, you know, we could do better. We never even showed up in two of the cup finals as well. You know, we didn't show up. This game, we showed up, we played well, and we won the game. And, you know, that's not a coincidence if you do that. I think any of us took us that played poorly and got a 1-0 from a set piece. But everything was aligned in the stars, you know, with, you know, Big Dan Burns getting his first England call-up, scoring a goal, being a Geordie himself. And then the chances that we created, the manner that we played. And you could see the players' confidence grow with the fans. And the fans as well, even when it was 2-0, they was wanting more and felt like we had them on the ropes. And as I said, you know, 2-1 really flattered Liverpool because, you know, we totally overrun them. And as longer it went on, everybody started believing, and it's like, wow, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And, you know, for the owner at the end of it, the owner to come up and say this is the first of many, which I think it will be now. I think it is a case of getting used to winning trophies, getting used to competing. And that's all we've ever wanted. Even when the dark days that we had with Ashley, we just wanted to compete. That was never materialised. Now we're doing it. It comes with expectation, but that's what we had in the 90s and 2000s with, you know, Kevin Keegan and Sir Bobby Robson, and that's what we want to have. You want to have that. But there was definitely a feeling around all the fans and people in the staff. You know, the club was great. They give everybody a ticket to come down, put them on a coach, and there's just a different feeling of that togetherness with the fans, with the owners, with the players, with the manager, and we haven't had that. Well, as I said, since probably the Sir Bobby Robson days. So that's a hell of a long time to do that. But it was well worth it. It was well worth it, the celebration and enjoying it. It was great.
Would you say that's the most complete performance we've had under Eddie Howe? I mean, we've obviously had great games, but as a 90-minute performance, tactically, I think that was just unbelievable. Like, we've had games this season, like Forest being one, went 1-0 behind, but then that first half, we just blew them away. But then the second half, we've slipped up, and we've seen it in a few other games where that game I thought was just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, like you say, everyone could feel that confidence in watching the game. You just like, when we went 1-0 up, that's when that real belief, like I was like, holy, we're going to win this here. Mm-hmm. Get that second goal and just unbelievable. And even when Liverpool brought one back, that was a little bit of worry, but it wasn't enough to be like, they're coming back. Like, I was like, we've definitely got this. And I thought it was just absolutely tactically incredible.
Yeah, I think, Matt, with the PSG game, Champions League, big occasion, that was a really good
Yeah,
performance from everybody. I think with the magnitude of the game, the pressure that was on the players, I'm finding it hard. I know Big Dan Burns on the day got man of the match, but I think everybody played well. Pleased for Pope. He's under a lot of pressure.
yeah,
He did well. Trippier, I thought he was. It was really difficult. Fabian Schär, who sort of goes unnoticed because he reminds me of a player that's always like 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 consistently. You don't really you won't appreciate it until he's maybe not playing because he
Yeah,
just
100%.
does things so simple. And when you think you've got Botman to come back into that lineup, Hall was injured, and as I said, with Livramento, Barnes playing his part as well. And it was really difficult. The three in midfield I thought was brilliant. That's where I thought Liverpool could win it, with the three in midfield. If we don't come to terms with them, I know Mo Salah and I know they've got outstanding players, but them three are probably the best in the Premier League, but we blew them away. So as a complete performance from the coach, from the substitutions, from the players, from the execution, a set piece, that's something as well that they would have worked on. They tried a couple near post, they tried a couple short ones, and in the end they said, right, we're going to ping it and let the big man attack it. And football can be that simple. It can really be that simple, that you just allow him to attack the ball. It's a wonderful header. And as I said, sometimes it's aligned with the stars, but it was a really good performance. But we have had some great performances as well. I think, like you said, with Eddie getting everything right, the big occasion. But PSG was a good one. We've obviously, beaten Spurs a few times at home as well. The Arsenal performance in the semi-final away, I thought he was brilliant. And then tactically, he went with three at the back, and we did another good job on Arsenal. So. All this about Eddie Howe and a couple of doubters as well, when he had a couple of different games, and he probably will go through that again. I think he's earned the right now, the trust of the fans and the ownership to give him some time. And people talk about a statue. He's not quite Sir Bobby and KK yet, but let's see what happens in a few years as well. So, but yeah, I do agree with you, Matt. I think there was a lot of good things. It'd be hard to push a better all-round performance from the first minute to the bloody 98th minute. I don't know where they got 8 minutes from as well. They score and they got another 8 minutes, and you think where's that come from? We looked around for maybe 4, maybe 3 minutes, but not bloody 8.
Nah.
But anyway, we see it through, and as I said, it was not just winning it, which we would have all took beforehand, but it's the manner that we did it and how we made Liverpool at the end look really average. They looked obviously tired from that game that they had, but we just mentally overrun them, and Eddie should take all the plaudits for doing that.
There's one tactical decision that I've heard and also seen from the match, and maybe it's something that you could shed a bit of light on. Obviously, having played fullback, the one thing I found very, very intriguing was the way that Eddie obviously brought Trippier back into the team. He's a phenomenal player, experienced, England, free kicks left, right, and centre. But the way he put Livramento on the left and pushed Livramento further up and had Burns slide, and that gave you would think tactically that might give Salah a bit more room to really do some damage, but it actually ended up working in our favour. And if you watch that match, Salah wasn't doing as much as you would have expected, and I feel like there's no better person to ask than somebody who played at a very high level in those sort of positions.
Yeah, I mean, again, not only Big Dan Burns was tucking in, but also Joe Linton as well was coming in. And what I loved about Tino Livramento is, I tried to do it with someone like Ryan Giggs. He ran off of Salah, and Salah is not a winger that would run back. The problem with bloody Ryan Giggs, he used to run back and then run the other way as well. So that was my problem. But what Livramento did well, he didn't just and I was thinking, we'll put Trippier, because he's done a lot for England and played left back, and let him do a job on that. But he trusted the young player, and Harvey Barnes helped the service to his feet. Anytime they loved that long diagonal ball, Big Dan Burns was there, but also Joe Linton. So there was a definite tendency that if Joe Linton does go forward, and he had the brief to go forward, because when he did do that, you're actually playing 2 against 1 against their fullback. You're actually doubling up against them and causing them a problem, rather than just saying, well, I'm going to give it to you, but I'm worried about Mo Salah. So I thought that was really brave from the player himself, because he knows he's got to try and chase back. But also from Eddie saying to him, well, I don't just want you to man mark someone. When you get it, I want you to go forward to cause them a problem. Then maybe their midfield player's got to slide in. We can give it to Jolene, and then you can start playing. But there was obviously a tendency with Big Dan Burns and Jolene, and if he loses it and he's out of position, come round and just slide over and let the cavalry come back. And, he's quick enough, the kid, to get back and do a job, because Mo Salah's not going to run. He's not going to come back and track back. He wants to go forward. So again, going back to what Matt said, tactically, Eddie had said to him, right, if this scenario happens, which it will do, I need you and you to do this, and you make sure you get back as quick as you can to do that. And we caused them more problems down their right and our left than they caused us with Mo Salah, because the longer the game went on, and like I said, the 70th minute, I turned around to my brother, I forgot Salah was playing, and he's arguably the best player in the Premier League at the moment. So to do that in a cup final, he only needs half a chance, but he never really got the kick. So again, like you said, the tactics were spot on, and the players' belief to do that. I just quickly go back and sort of talks for so long, but Kenny Dalglish, we played against Overmars at Arsenal.
Yep.
And I was playing right back predominantly at the time, but Kenny changed it and put Pastoni at right back and put me in front of him a little bit to stop the service from Winterburn going to. But Overmars never wanted it to feet. He always wanted it over behind. And unfortunately, Pastoni got cut too close, and Petit played the ball around the corner after 19 minutes. Then Overmars scores, and our game plan's out the window. I'm not a midfield player that's going to go forward like Barnes. I'm a fullback that wants to go forward. So it eliminated us two straight away. And Overmars, as I said, just wanted it over the top, and he got that. But, thankfully for Eddie, we got the goal, and then they started chasing the game and things started opening up. But as I said, it was great that we caused them problems. We caused them more problems than Mo Salah caused us problems.
Yeah, definitely. How emotional was the cup lift? What was it like? What was it like being around everybody when that cup was getting lifted?
It was very emotional for everybody. Like I said, when you've got Bobby Moncur, who's 80, and he's the last captain to lift the trophy, what I thought was fitting was the three captains did it. We had Bruno up there, Trippier, obviously, that's been captain in the game, and Jamal was there as well. I thought that was quite a fitting, and I think that it's quite fitting because there's three handles on the cup, so it was quite easy for each of them to have, not like the FA Cup where so there's three handles to do that. I thought that shows that togetherness and spirit. Yeah, and then all the players and the staff running on the pitch. And like I said, people was crying, people was singing, and I had a little look up to the big fella and to say thank you, because, to be there when they've done it, I've clapped the programme, I've had my ticket, so I'll have that until the day I die. So that's something to keep hold of. And I just know what it means to everybody up there. It's quite ironic as well that it was St Patrick's Day on the Monday. So if they needed an excuse to celebrate even more, they had another excuse to say to the missus, oh, by the way, it's St Paddy's Day, so we're going to go out again. So, it was just a wonderful feeling, a lot of relief, but also a lot of pride, because like I said, the manner that we did it, and this, I hate the word, but the project that they say now in the modern game about the new owners and what we're trying to do. I remember Mourinho did it at Chelsea to win the cup, the Carabao Cup. Pep did it at Man City to win one. And that's a catalyst then to go on and win more trophies. It's always hard to win the first one. Believe me, I tried it for 8 years with Newcastle. We come second twice and 3 times, as I said, in an FA Cup. So it's hard to win something. But to get your first one, and then what else? I mentioned it the other day to someone on a podcast as well. To have the international break, to let everybody celebrate, debrief, exhale, and then go back, because we've still got a big chance of getting in the Champions League as well. 100%. So, that couple of weeks has given us a real good focus on getting everybody, go and do what you got to do, go and let your hair down, and then come back, and then we're ready to go and got 10 cup finals to come along. You win 6 of them, and you've got a chance of being in the Champions League. So there's still a lot to play for. And I think any of us would have said European football and a trophy. We've been saying that for bloody 70 years. So,
my entire life.
There you go. There you go.
So the big debate in modern football is obviously about the Champions League, and obviously having been around all those Geordies, watching everyone cry, as you say, and celebrate. Do you think there would have been anyone at Wembley that would have swapped losing to Liverpool and come in, say, second in the Premiership to guarantee Champions League football for next season? Do you think there would have been anyone swap that or not?
No, not this club, George. You know what they're like. They've been starved of it. The only one might have been with the business people upstairs in the office, but even then, I think they would have said, you know what, we would take that another time. It's such an emotional ride for the fans. You know, you're going back to the mid-90s to when we was trying to challenge and compete and to get to finals and try and win, you know, the Premier League or the FA Cup or any bloody trophy, you know, to try and do that. It was about winning. And I know ex-players from, you know, Manchester United, Paul Scholes saying what he said, but I think there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, and because Shearer turned them down, that generation particularly don't like us and we don't like them, to be honest with you. The feeling's mutual. Yeah. So, you know, for us to win it, George, I think they thought of, you know, let's win this and we'll do Europa. That's fine. As long as we can get abroad and go and have a drink in somewhere. It may not be the Bernabeu, but to be honest, they don't really mind when they have a drink. It could be in bloody, you know, Croatia or anywhere where they want to drink. Azerbaijan, yeah, you're going and playing them. But, you know, from that point of view, I get where you're coming from. But because of our history and because of, you know, what we've tried to get, we would have took the trophy, I think. And that's what makes it so special, because that's the one we wanted. And now it's to try and get both. Let's be greedy. I said that when the owners come in and we was doing it, and everyone said, "Oh, we're ahead of the game, and you know we don't really want Champions League." You've got to take it while it's there. So because Chelsea are still rebuilding. I'm not sure what Chelsea are. Liverpool have won it. Man City, they might stumble along, but I mean it is Man City, and they've got a lot of quality players. Aston Villa, they're still in the Champions League. So, you know, Arsenal will be there or thereabouts. But if we can, you know, keep motoring and keep going, unfortunately we're not in the FA Cup. Brighton are, so they're looking at a couple of more games potentially. So why not us? Why not us? You know, get in there as well. We're as good as anything, and you know, with that confidence of what we've had in the last few weeks. Yeah, it's a big result against West Ham. I know it wasn't, you know, a glamour performance, but to go away from home and to win the game. 1-0, it give everybody like, okay, let's put that aside. Let's really focus on that. And then, like I said, with the international break, let's give a bit more time for us to say, okay, let's put that aside and now focus on the Premier League. So I'm really looking forward to the end of the season and see where we end up.
Do you think, this is a big one, we've won the Cup, we're guaranteed Europa League Conference football. Say we don't get Champions League, do you think that's enough to keep Isak at the club?
Yeah, and I'm a big believer that strikers love to be loved. Now, listen, I play with Alan Shearer for enough, and you know, strikers are a different animal. As goalkeepers are, but so are strikers. They want to be loved. And for me, what I would do, he's still under contract, so but I know that doesn't mean anything. I would bump him up again, and what I would do is get Alan to come in and present him in front of all the fans, do like an open stadium. And Alan give him the number 9 shirt. And I think that would really make him feel like I'm the main man. These fans adore me. The chances are, if he does go to another club, which are all ifs and buts, but why would you? Because if you go to Arsenal, that doesn't guarantee, because that's been the link. And Sky Sports love making a story out of nothing.
And he's been linked to Arsenal. He's been linked to Arsenal left, right and centre. Yeah. And I'd rather him go anywhere but we want him to stay put.
Yeah, but also as well, they was in to get him at the beginning. We believed in him and paid the money. So 100%. I think as a striker as well, it's like we went out and paid him, got him in. He's had a taste of Champions League. He's won a trophy now.
Yep.
So I think from that point of view, as I said, with the players around him, we're going to lose some of the squad players.
Yeah.
But we ain't going to lose Bruno. We're not going to lose the Italian stallion. You know, Joelin, there's enough there to say, as I said, players, you know, Botman's coming back. We're going to build around you. We're going to build other players coming in. You know, Liverpool have got their own problems to deal with the 3 big superstars, whether they're coming or going. So that Chelsea, I said, I'm not sure where he fits in or what they are there. So when you look at us, potentially a new stadium, £1 billion as a new stadium, fans that adore you, and it was lovely that he scored the goal in front of our fans. It wouldn't have been the same down the other end. I know it still counts. Yeah. But to have that feeling and stand up and see that is quite an iconic picture of them fans around him at Wembley. all these things are in our favour. But I would definitely make a big thing and say, right, you're this top paid, and also, by the way, we're going to give you the number 9 shirt, and that's like the pinnacle of being, the big superstar at Newcastle. You're following in some great footsteps, and let Alan give it to him as well, because I think that means the world. I know Wilson's here, but I think Wilson time will leave now. He's been injured, and as this train is going on, they're going to bring other players in, and he's been a great servant to the club, and been a good professional and everything else. But we've got to make sure that we keep pushing the boundaries and going forward. So that's what I would do. But this talk will come along, even when he's on international duty. Someone picks it up, and he, like he said, he loves it there. New training ground coming along, new stadium coming along, new players coming in. We've won our first trophy. I mean, this parade that you're going to see on Saturday is going to be unreal. We did it in '98. We did a parade, and there was 250,000 fans. It was the most embarrassing thing I'd ever done, because we was bloody awful. And they said to us, "No, you've got to say thank you to the fans." We did that, but for them to applaud us and say, "Oh, it's fantastic," when we was crap, was really hard to do. But we did it because that was the right thing to do. But this will be a different feeling, and as I said, the celebrations that will be going over the weekend is going to be a lot of fun. So, that again will give him that to look around and see that many people adore him. As I said, strikers are different, and they love him. So, that's keep him at our club, which I think they will do, and let him get us to the Champions League, and let us get into quarterfinals and semi-finals and things like that we want to try and do.
Absolutely.
I think getting European football, obviously we've got Conference League locked in. If we can get Europa, I feel like that obviously solidifies it a lot more as well. More European money coming in helps, along with the FFP restrictions. Timelines are starting to open up for us.
Are we the only ones that have that restriction, or does
it seems that way?
Man City can spend their money, but we can't.
They just get to go through 16-year court cases.
Yeah, and then once they're still in the middle of a court case, they go and spend another 250 million on 3 and 4 defenders. So yeah, I'd rather take a court case, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know how long that court case is going to go on, and it seems to just always fall on the it's adjourned. Oh, it's going to be sorted out later. Oh, points deduction. Yeah, what a joke. Like that'll ever happen. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that, but on the way that they're just the heads of the club are running it, they're trying to run it within the framework that they're given and running it the right way, and it seems like we're starting to open up. So along with talking about potentially Isaac leaving, which I don't think will happen, I feel like there's obviously a lot of opportunity for more investment in players coming up in the next couple of transfer windows. Obviously the last couple have not been as exciting as the first few were when PIF came in. But how do you think this win's changed the public perception of Newcastle, not only locally in the UK, but globally? And obviously we already know what Newcastle fans think. The minute PIF took over, we've all been bouncing off the walls for the past 3 years. But the rest of the footballing community who support whoever they support, what do you think that their perception of Newcastle is like, having us won this, and also since PIF has come in?
Yeah, it's notably, particularly in America. I went to Chicago to the Premier League Fan Fest, and there was fans from all over, whether it was from the West Coast or up in Boston, Chicago, coming to there. There was a lot of fans that was all over the States, as there is in, we did a Zoom call with a load of fans from maybe Australia to the Far East to maybe Scandinavian countries. So the brand is getting, it is a brand. It's getting a real appeal. What is different about us is the tsunami, which people want to be part of a selected group of people, but also the uniform, the kit is different, black and white. It's not a red like 5 or 6 other teams, a red or a blue. So I think that's there. Success always helps. Chelsea fans didn't have fans all over the world. I remember playing at Chelsea and they couldn't even get 16,000 people there. So, that helps as well. The Premier League, the way it's marketed and pushed out, is huge. And when you're part of that and you've got a stadium that's full of people, you've got fans that will be there through thick and thin, you've got players that are got personality, like a Bruno, Joe Linton, that add to that. Players and agents will be looking around saying, they've got stability there. Eddie's been there now a few years. The ownership's been there. As I said, a new training ground coming along, potentially a new stadium. This is a club that, as you've seen, is growing into competing with some of the biggest clubs in Europe. Are we Real Madrid yet? No, we're not. But we're on that playing field where we can compete and where we can challenge. And it's a team where you think, I really don't want to play them. We talk about Anfield being a special night in European nights. St James's Park on a night game is a bit special as well. So, there's a lot of pluses now that people all around the world are looking at Newcastle and thinking, that's a place I want. A fantastic nightlife. If you're a supporter and you make a weekend of it, I recommend get there on the Thursday and go right the way through. So, don't just go for one night. Go and enjoy yourself. You won't be disappointed. And then, obviously, success is important as well. And the manner that we're doing it as well. I love, Eddie is grown into that job. He understands the responsibility of managing Newcastle United because, Kevin always said to us, from Monday to Friday, then people are working hard. When they turn up on a Saturday, you better bloody give them something to be happy about and something to cheer about. And unfortunately, at the end of it, we failed. We didn't win it, but we tried hard to give them what they wanted, and the times was exciting and stuff like that. So there's so many pluses for Newcastle, and it's very vibrant. It's new. It's different, and people like that. And so for us, we've got to be one of the most popular clubs in the Premier League. When you look at it, Liverpool's got that history, tradition. Man United are trying to sort their crap out. And hopefully that takes another 50 years. And then we can keep going and keep going and keep going. So, lots of good things. And what we've got to keep doing, and the ownership, is to keep pushing forward. Don't rest on your laurels and think, like you said, the transfer window wasn't as exciting as we wanted. But don't forget, Paul had only just come in. Dan had left, and he's shows you think the grass is greener on the other side. You end up doing garden league for another 3 years. So. I know we get paid for that, but
you don't even get dinners there anymore.
Exactly, yeah. You don't even get fed there. So from that point of view, it's exciting. If I was a young player playing in Europe or playing around the world in South America, that would be on my radar because of the excitement of the stadium, what it holds as a football club, and now they've won something. So it's all of a sudden it's like it's a little bit of more enticing than even it was before. And for me, I'd always sell it. I'd always say it's a great club. You've got to take the chance. But there's no, people want to win and they want to be in the Champions League. So, that will open a lot of avenues for Newcastle. And to be part of this journey that's going to go on for the next 5 or 6 years is going to be so exciting. So, may it long continue.
Yeah, you obviously brought up the potential of a new stadium. Causing a lot of divide between fans. Obviously, St James's Park, unbelievable, absolutely love it, but we do need that bigger capacity, of course. What's your thoughts on that?
It's like anything. We would love, in an ideal world, we'd love to stay at St James's Park and build on top of it, but we can't. That's the reality. What I love, again, the ownership has listened to the fans because you're never going to please it, but they're making it nearby. I remember when Tottenham built their stadium. It's not going to be out in Walsington or past the airport on an open land. They're keeping it in the city because when you do go into Newcastle, whether it's on the A1 or the train, you come in and the stadium's on a hill. And it's the first thing you see when you get into Newcastle. Don't worry about the bridge and everything. It's the stadium because it's the first thing, it's the highest thing you see. So they want to keep it in that type of area, that type of venue. So that makes it more attractive to fans that are so. And listen, I remember nearly getting told off with Fox when I was working, when it was my boss. And I always kept it, it's St James's Park to me. And he said, no, it's the Sports Direct Arena. I said, it ain't. Not to me, it's St James's Park. I can't be on TV when I'm talking about the Premier League and say, oh, here we are, the Sports Direct Arena. It doesn't go with me. So St James's Park is obviously a big part of it. But we do have, the way you look at it, 53,000 fans. We do it to 65, potentially 80. It's more people that can come. Forget about the money is obviously. There's so many fans that couldn't get tickets to Wembley, can't go and watch our regular games. that want to come and do that. What that will do will open it up, because I know with families where they've got 2 or 3 tickets and they have to rotate it. 10 years ago, they was giving it away.
Yeah.
No one wanted to go. This year, it's like, well, I'm going to go with your dad. Okay, next week it's going to be me and your sister's going. And they have to share that ticket throughout the whole season. Now they can get a group of 4 and everybody can go and things like that. So not only financially, but also for the regular fans that want to go and watch games week in, week out. And if we had 80,000, we would fill it.
Oh,
you know, we would fill it in the atmosphere. So I'm pleased that they're keeping it central in the city centre. And by the looks of it, if they do build it, it's going to be a magnificent stadium. So, yes, we'd all love to stay, and we're all romantic, and we've all had great memories. But you're looking at the next generation that will have their memories and have that experience going forward. And again, being able to go with everybody in the family rather than pick and choose who you're going with this weekend. So, yeah, I still think it's a few years away, but it makes sense to do it, to compete and to keep going where we want to get to.
Agreed.
Do you think that this team is more pragmatic than obviously or I wouldn't say ruthless, probably isn't the right word, but what would you say is probably the most comparable thing between the team that we have right now and the way Eddie conducts himself to obviously the Entertainers era, which was probably the last most exciting era for the club, besides obviously Sir Bobby as well?
I would say that togetherness. They really show a group of, we're getting on really well. We was like that as players. When we would go out, everyone would be there, whether it be the trainer, the physios. We would all go out together with the wives, and it'd be a whole community, a whole group of friends going together. After the game, we'd make sure we go to a restaurant in, say, Jesmond, and it'd start off with a table for 20, and then it'd be a table for 30, because people would just come along. And they seem to have that togetherness as well. I think, the spirit that it showed, like when they scored the goal, Dan Burns, he didn't run off to himself. He ran over to the subs and jumped in together with them and being part of it. So they're very similar in that respect of what they have, a really good connection with the fans. I know social media makes it a lot easier, but I've noticed that they do a lot of things together. Like they go to schools, they go to hospitals, they go to kids' wards and things like that. That's the things that we was very adamant that was doing, being in the community. So I think from that point of view, there's a lot of similarities about what they are as a team. I still think we would beat them, because I think our front 4 is better than their front 3. So I think we would beat them. And Bruno's not quite Rob Lee yet, but I think Rob Lee would stick his big fat ass into him and turn him and win the game. So, but yeah, really a lot of sim, and the way Bobby is as well. Sorry, look at me. Like Eddie is like Bobby in the sense where he's, it's all about the fans. A lot of managers would have done the interviews and I did this, my tactics was great, aren't we? He's not like that. No. He's not like that, and I think that's credit to him as well. Let other people say how great you are. I can't stand it when other people say that. Oh, I did this, I did that. I always think other people should say that, but there really is and I was speaking to a lot of people that have been in the club since I was there, that worked maybe in the ticket office, and now they're executive members of the club, and they've got a different title. But they said there's that same feeling of us being able to talk to the players. If we see you in town, you're going to come up and say hello and things like that. So, and that comes from him all the way through, and we used to do the same. At Christmas, if we had a function to go to, we'd take security guards because they've been working hard. We'd give them Christmas gifts. And I hear that's happening as well with the likes of Trippier, Jamel, Bruno, people like that are good leaders, good people. And that's very refreshing to hear, because in the modern game, you always think about me. But they've got a real togetherness, which is great. And it comes from, as I said, it comes from Eddie.
If you could play one more game for Newcastle United, would you go back to the Kevin Keegan era, or would you play in this current team?
No, KK was, it was fun. that era was the football that we played, the fans that was, growing into the club. The black and white shirts was really dominant. The Grandad collar shirts. The city was. I would never change it. Obviously, there's a couple of regrets here and there, not winning it. There's not a day goes past that we didn't. We should have won the Premier League. It should have been our name. Leicester's there, Blackburn's there, Liverpool's there, Chelsea's there. we should have been in there. But I would never change. No, Kevin Keegan, Sir Bobby. That time was, I was lucky enough, 220 appearances for the club. But yeah, I loved every minute of it. I played non-league football, and to go and play for a club like Newcastle and have the time that I did playing it, I would never change it. It's 5,000-6,000 people watching you train at Maiden Castle. It was fantastic. So I always said I would love them players, and they're getting it, to have the time that I'm having, that I had. Like they go into the stadium and there's a real buzz about it. There's a real buzz in the streets of Newcastle, and they're experiencing it. I had that for 7-8 years. So it's there. Let's keep it going. Let's enjoy it.
Now, when you join Newcastle, your transfer fee made you the most expensive English defender in history at the time. Did you feel any extra pressure with that, or did you just thrive under it?
No, I was proud of it. Like I said, I've been told twice I was too small, wasn't going to make it. I've worked hard at Wimbledon, part of the crazy. So I've gone from the crazy gang to then the entertainers. I was proud of that. What saved me, Matt, was fantastic. Big Legs Ferdinand come 2 days later, and he was the most expensive player for 6 million. So he took a lot of pressure off of me. But yeah, to be the most expensive defender, I was proud. Obviously, it come with some pressure and expectations, but that's what you play for. And I had the years there, and it wasn't always rosy for me. I had to, to dig in and show a bit of character, because when they pay money, they expect things. So. But yeah, I was just very, very proud. I'm proud of what I've done, and it's spoken to Celtic, spoken to Blackburn, spoken to David Dean at Arsenal, had words with Man City at the time. But I met Kevin Keegan in London, and he tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Come and join a big club." And for him and the way he was, and what he was trying to do, it was, as I said, a no-brainer. And as I said, I loved every minute of it. It was a great part of my life. Kids, married, being in the Northeast, great people, great times. And also the people I played with, some really good people, fantastic players, Peter Beardsley, people like that were phenomenal players, but also really good people. We had a laugh. I bumped into Philip Albert, who I haven't probably seen for 20 years. I was doing the Euros for Fox, and we was in Germany, and Philip was working for the Belgium TV, and it was like we'd never been away. First of all, it was like, my God, I didn't recognise you. And then it's like, oh, do you remember this? How about this? And, and
I don't think anybody will ever forget his, what was his back heel
chip.
goal? Oh, the chip.
No, his
the
chip.
chip.
His chip over Schmeichel, yeah.
He also had the back
heel.
heel goal, didn't he? He's like spinning. I'm pretty sure it was Felipe Albert, wasn't it?
It might have done against Man City. He done a nice.
I remember the chip. The chip was phenomenal. But Felipe Albert was another maverick, another French maverick. We've had a few of them over the years. Obviously, Felipe Albert, Ginola, Ben Arthur was one, even though he's a bit off the crazy bandwagon. But
I'm going to have to correct you.
He was
Philip will
Belgian.
go mad. He was Belgian.
Belgium.
He was Belgique. He was Belgique, as he used to say.
Who's
I
that?
know you and Maps. Philip Albert. I know when we talk about countries, Europe's not one country,
No.
But all good. We know you mean well.
Yeah.
We can edit that.
It's all right. I don't mind getting corrected every now and then. I need to.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning where you are. So
yeah. I can use that as an excuse. It's actually 5 a.m. nearly, and I haven't slept yet,
right.
so I can use that as a bit of an excuse. If we do get Champions League this year, what do you think the squad size is going to have to? Is it going to have to change? Do you think we're going to have to? It's going to have to obviously get bigger if we do get that. What positions would you most likely look at if you were in that position? You were looking at the squad. What positions would you look to improve upon?
It is going to improve regardless. I think they are going to. People will leave. I think there's about 5 or 6 that are out of contracts anyway. 2 of them being goalkeepers as well. So Eddie's a believer in young players as well, and I know they're working hard with some young players coming through, which is something that the club have tried to thrive on a little bit in the past. I think obviously another striker. We need to go with another Isaac. Go and find another Isaac, which is there or thereabouts, and get him into a level. Because when he first come, he wasn't the Isaac now. He's grown into that. He's got. So I think also another wide player. I would look for a wide player that can compete with goals. That they've looked at, people at Bayer Leverkusen as well, a fullback. To answer your question, when you're a team that are challenging, and Mourinho did it early on, you need 22 good players, top players. And, at the moment, I think if we're being really honest, we've got 15, 16 that you sort of can say it's like for like. And then there's a little bit of, well, we'll have to wait until he gets back because we need him back. But, yeah, I think the spine of the team always needs improving. The great teams in the past, whether it's been Liverpool way back in the 70s and 80s, they always added, Sir Alex Ferguson always did it each year, got Ferdinand, then he got Rooney, then he goes and gets Van Persie, then he gets
Well,
the list goes.
I think
goes
the
on
thing
and
with
on
Sir
and on.
Alex is he always bought Premier League proven players in to really solidify that spine.
That's a good point. We talk about clubs coming to get our players. I think it's about us now going to look at other clubs and saying, you know what I mean? If you're not really doing well at this club, i.e. a Declan Rice, why don't you want to come here? Why is it always us that are selling? I don't understand that. That's one thing that I'm always conscious of. We could look at Bayern Munich and players that are in their system there that you think, okay, they've got Champions League, but do they want to be in the Premier League? Do they want to challenge themselves? Why don't you, come to us, and try that? So I always think we need to be a bit more bullish about why would we sell? I'm coming after your player. You know what I mean? You can't come and cherry pick who you want from us.
I think the media and the fans, I don't think the club with the new ownership is really going to back down, roll over and let big players leave easily. I think, it's a lot different to the Ashley era that we obviously suffered through for too long. And I think there's maybe still a little bit of aftershock from that we're still like, oh, can we hold on to this player? Can we hold on to that player? I don't think the club would really let anybody go for anything short of a ridiculous valuation for somebody they wanted to keep. But it'd be interesting to see who we do bring in. The one position that I think, and I think it would be very interesting to see if we do bring someone in, I think the left side is really solid. We've got Gordon and we've got Harvey Barnes, which are both very impactful off the left. When they play on the right, still very impactful, but not as impactful as they are off the left. On the right, though, we've got Jacob Murphy, who has been absolutely amazing, even though he has been often criticised. His link-up play of Isaac has been absolutely brilliant. Do you think... Obviously, that's a position I believe that we would look at improving. Do you think that would be a position that we'd look at improving? And if we do improve it, would it be kind of an insult to the performances of Jacob Murphy, do you think?
No. I think Murphy's had the career as the season of his life. He's a local boy. He loves the club. Eddie has done a wonderful job on keeping him motivated and keeping him part of it. And you're right, he's an easy scapegoat for some of the fans to have 100%. A go at. But one thing with a kid, he gives 100%, but he also understands, that's the business you're in. They're going to move up, but I don't think it would ever change his attitude. I mean, even when they had everybody fit, towards the end of last season, he wasn't always playing. He had to earn his right, and now he's took that chance. But I do agree with you. I think good competition there, and I'm not talking about competition like I'm talking about starters. Go and get 2 or 3 players that are going to take us to the next level going forward, and that's quite hard to do because you do get caught up in the emotion of like, wow, that was great for us. We won a trophy. You've got to sort of put that aside. Kevin Keegan did it. I mean, Lee Clark for us was brilliant as a holding midfield player who was predominantly a box-to-box midfield player. And he went and got David Batty, who was arguably one of the best of his position. It was hard for Lee and it was hard for us because we like Lee. But, David had played X amount of times for England. He'd already won the Premier League. He was an established player. Tino coming in for Paul Kitson, Tino Asprilla. Paul Kitson was as reliable as you liked. He was very patient, would go in, score you a goal, then he'd have to come back out again. And then all of a sudden Tino come in and Paul was, again, surplus to requirement. So it can be hard, but that's the reality of the game. That's the reality of what you're doing. And, that's where you have to put them emotions aside because, like I said, the good teams always build when they're doing well. What we don't want to do is be so loyal to everybody because people's form can drop. And I also think you need to freshen it up. You need to have a couple of new faces that, I remember we lost the title. We were devastated and probably never got over it till now. But we went out and bought Alan Shearer for 15 million, and it was like, wow, okay, now we mean business, and that's really woke everybody up. And the unfortunate thing is that Kevin walked out on us after beating Spurs 7-1. So that was a massive blow for us. But that's the type of mentality that we had at that time. We lost it. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get the best striker in the world and bring him to the club. So that's look at what we've got in store coming along. But I think we'll be competing for some good players throughout positions. You're right. There's certain areas that jump out, but I do think there's also, you just need depth and quality, and you need people, because God forbid, someone gets injured. And you're back to square one a little bit.
Aaron, I'm going off script here, but Warren, you've mentioned Tino. I can't forget Tino. So can you tell us your favourite story about Tino? Is there a watershed? I don't know what time it is in San Diego.
I remember last time you told us you wouldn't talk too much because there's some fun stories that can't be let out there. But go on.
Yeah. Jules, there's kids who might watch this. The Barcelona game, the Barcelona. That's my memory of Tino. Is the Barcelona game, scoring a hat trick and watch him celebrate. He was a phenomenal person, great player, and great gets thrown around too much. But Tino was an exceptional player at home, away from home. Don't bother because he ain't going to chase the fullbacks down. But a great character and a phenomenal player as well. So. There's a lot of stories that he's not like Gazza, because Gazza is his own person. But everyone says, "Oh, tell me a story about Gazza." And I was involved with Euro '96 and a couple of seasons before. Gazza loved football, and Tino is exactly the same. Yes, they're a little bit off script. They're a little bit different, a little bit maverick. But when it comes to the games and comes to what they want to try and perform and the teammates, they're as good as anything. They're as good as anything. Like Gazza was like that. He'd think the world of you if you worked hard in training. He'd have fun and he'd pull your shorts down or he'd trip you. And Tino was exactly the same. Alan Irvine used to set up he was a coach with Kenny Dalglish, used to set it up immaculate. The facilities was all set up, was all ready to train. Tino would come in and kick balls everywhere in the cones, and you could see the steam coming out of Alan's ears. But Tino was just a player. But when it come to training and playing games, it meant the world to him. And as I said, people sometimes go about how crazy and the women and the fun that he had. And I'm not saying he was an angel, but when it comes to the games, he was phenomenal in training. I can't remember him missing a training session because he didn't fancy it, or because. And there's a few. Let me tell you, there's a few that have done that. By the way, that I don't fancy it today, so I'm not going to train. Tino wasn't one of them.
And are you still in touch with him now?
Yes, through social media, and now and again. My Spanish is about as good as his English. So, right. So there's not a lot, but there's lots of thumbs up, lots of emojis. Emojis are a different class. You can change it.
Oh, that's brilliant. What's your message to, I would say, the younger generation now that hasn't went through the rough times with what went through with Ashley, the relegations and whatnot, but say a young 6-year-old who's just watched the lift the cup, what's your message to him now for the future?
Or her. Him or her.
Sorry,
start off with disregard the Tino stories.
My daughter's only had to wait 8 years for success. I don't know what this 70 years is all about.
I would say enjoy it and enjoy every minute of it and make the most of it, because it is a special club. It's a unique club. As I said, the fans, the stadium, everything about this club is special. And be proud of your club and enjoy it, because we've had to wait a lot of generations, as you rightly said. There's been a lot of tears, there's been a lot of frustration, there's been a lot of anger and a few walls that have been punched in the time. But go and enjoy it and be proud of us, because it's a special club, and there's been a lot of people that have worked hard over the years to try and give the fans what they wanted. The likes of Kevin Keegan, Sir Bobby Robson, Alan Shearer, people like that have given everything that they had for the club. So go and enjoy it, and as I said, be proud of supporting Newcastle, because I don't think there's no better feeling when you see away fans, when they're all together, start to go into a stadium, and then it starts to evolve, and everybody's on that party time, and everybody's supporting each other. And one thing with Geordies, they've always got your back. You know what I mean? Whatever happens, no one's going to stab you in the back or anything like that. So if you're one of them, they'll look after you. And it's been a long time since I've lived up there or even played for them, but they treat me as if, and that's what's so special to me, the way they treated my family, my kids, my wife, everyone that went up there. It's not because I played for Newcastle, it was the fact that I was part of the club. I understood the club, and that they appreciated that, because they would have given their right arm to play for Newcastle, and I was lucky enough to do that for a long time. So from that point of view, is go and enjoy it, and be proud to support Newcastle.
Brilliant.
Do you think this the title, winning the title, the Carabao Cup, do you think it eases a lot of the pain of the entertainers era, being so unlucky and not getting a title? Does it ease a bit of the pain seeing Newcastle finally lift the trophy? And does it ease some of your pain? And do you think it would ease some ex-players' pains?
No, the pain that I've still got of losing
that'll never go.
That will never go. That'll always be to the day I die. But what is fitting is that to see the fans enjoy that day. That's something that I will take to my grave. I'll take to my grave that if only we did this, if only we'd won it. I can't do a lot about that, but what I can do is look at the fans and see their excitement and see their joy of doing that. And there was a lot of fans that had the old Reckless shirts on. I've seen there one with Jules that you go back when them times we wasn't winning things, and just to see them have that, go into work the next day or text their mate who's maybe an Everton fan or an Arsenal supporter or Man United or Liverpool, just be able to text them and just send emoji with a trophy, that type of thing. It is special. So it will never take it away. But I felt a lot better. Whether that was the drink, I don't know. But I felt a lot better on Monday than I did.
How many drinks did you have that night?
What are you, my wife?
You don't have a number in your head, do you?
Nothing to do with you.
There's no numbers in your head. That's all scrambled, mate.
I come back here. I'm at home, so there you go.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many I had. Oh God.
All right. Well, he's got anything else?
I think I've basically unloaded everything that I could. Every question that I had.
I think George.
No, apart from, did you never contemplate getting a shampoo deal with either Timotei or Pantene?
I had Ginola in front of me. I had no chance. He had the Head and Shoulders.
He did, yeah. He did. Well,
Yeah, he had the head.
You could have
head
got
and
a rival
shoulders.
deal, couldn't you?
I was going to do Old Spice or Brute. That was my next thing.
I can't see much under the cap, but you could be going for Just for Men now as well, can you?
Yeah, I was going to say that's why I got the cap on. There's an old saying, George. Remember me as I was, not as I am. Do you know that? Do you remember that? There's a saying. Listen, guys, it's been a pleasure. I know it's 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. As I said, it's always a pleasure talking to fans that obviously love the club. So I want to wish you well, and may this be the start of things to come. So as I said, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very
Not
much.
a problem.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Warren. Thank you for coming on.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Bye, guys.
mate.
Bye.